What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real-life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. I am your host, Josh Levine, and I am joined here by my longtime friend and my co-host, Travis Hatch. And today, we understand that our world is busier and more crowded than ever. So we have to figure out, how is it that some people are able to stand out, build platforms, and be successful in a market that can be pretty saturated and provide us with new adversities that we have to face and overcome every day. Personally, I know it can be hard to juggle all of the aspects of business and life and be successful in so many avenues that we want to be. So if you'll feel like it is too, then this is a perfect episode for you, where we have Darryl Lovegrove joining us today. He's the author of the book, Why Haven't I Heard of You?, as well as co-creator of the global phenomenon performance, The Three Waiters, and founder of one of Australia's most successful entertainment companies. Darryl has figured out all of the hard work through a lifetime of experience, and he's here today to teach us how to stand out from the crowd and how to stay ahead during tough times by pivoting. So before we get into it, we ask that if you love this episode, please scroll down to the bottom of this page and give us 5 stars on Apple or a follow on Spotify. Share us on your socials. You can find me at Josh Levine Fitness and Travis at Travis Hawks Media. That's it. So get ready to enjoy some great storytelling and some valuable life lessons from our guest, Darryl Lovegrove. All right. So to get started, obviously Travis has clued me in on, the Three Waiters and Lovegrove Entertainment and the book that you've written, Why Haven't I Heard of You? Which that one really jumped out at me as an entrepreneur who's in a pretty crowded space. I'm very interested to learn more about that, but I'd love to give you the opportunity, Darryl, to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, how you've gotten to where you are today, and then we'll kind of dive in and get learning.
All right. Well, firstly, hi, everyone, and thanks for joining me here today. Great to be with the boys and doing it. I've been really lucky. Gosh, I'm one of the lucky. I consider myself, like many yourself, I suppose, as well, entrepreneurs who have been able to put your toe into the water and find get some incredible life experience as a result. I guess my story is this. I grew up in New Zealand as a young kid and went to Australia to live when I was 22 years old. I was lucky enough to get into Les Miserables, the famous musical. And at the time, it was the big show in Australia. Was the original Sydney cast had just completed their first year, and I was one of the people who replaced cast members who were leaving that show. But before that, my first 6 years of my life was in Malawi, in Central Eastern Africa, where Dad was lecturing law, and also Geneva, Switzerland, where Dad went and worked for the UN Law Office. And so I had a great, unbelievable first 6 years of my life, immersing myself with the Malawians. I was this white-headed kid who I would be, taken down to the local village for shopping, and they'd all just want to come and touch me. I was, this white head, just so whiter than Boris Johnson's head, and so I thought I was a little bit of a prince, apparently. I don't know why, but, and anyway, and then going to Geneva with the European, a whole kind of kid of a UN employee, was with all that going on. It was learning to speak a little bit of French. And then when Mum and Dad split up, we came back to New Zealand with my brother, who was born in Geneva, and grew up in New Zealand, which one of the great places of the world, obviously, to grow up. And so I had a very kind of privileged life like that. But I was destined, I thought, to being a pop star. And all my life through school, I was a bit odd. I was the one sort of running around doing Kate Bush impersonations and Robert Plant and trying to be, the next kind of Ian Gillan rock singer in the school. And I wanted to be on the theater. And one of the things I talk about, which is so, it's a common story with a lot of people I meet on their entrepreneurial story and their journeys, is we all hit those times of life which change the paradigm for us, don't we? My big experience where I really woke up and found what was possible in life, which gave me permission to do what I really kind of had no idea about, but started to realize, was simply walking into a cinema in 1974, I think it was, and seeing a movie that had just come out called Jesus Christ Superstar. And it was the last movie I wanted to see. My auntie dragged me along to it, said, shut up. You know, I don't care if you don't want to see this movie. You're going to sit there and be quiet because I want to see it. And I remember sitting there going, I'd rather see a Clint Eastwood cowboy and Western movie. You know, it's 1974, for goodness sake. And anyway, this movie unraveled itself to me. And these people were screaming at each other in rock music, and the stakeholders and the intenseness of what was the whole Jesus and Judas thing, and oh my God, it blew my mind, and the violence of the whipping and the crucifixion. I came out of it a very shocked 7-year-old boy from the intensity of the movie, but I also realized I had no idea that that's what you could do when you grew up. You could be an actor or a singer like that and sing to your heart's content and scream and, oh, let it all out. And I've just, that shaped my life. It always has. And so from then on, I realized like I can be a performer and I want to be a performer. I was always relatively academic in school, did all that stuff, but I really wanted to, live that world of being in the arts. And so I've been very lucky, and that's exactly what I've done. So I've been able to live that dream. But and it involved, cutting a long story short, getting into musical theatre, Les Miserables, chess, and did a whole lot of other plays and stuff in Sydney, Australia, and New Zealand. And even in the mid-90s, was lucky enough to play Jesus in a New Zealand Australian tour of Jesus Christ Superstar. So I actually got to play the big guy in the end. And but then about the late 90s, my second big coming to a fork in the road moment happened, where I could have gone either way. And that was a mate of mine and I accidentally put together this show for what we call the corporate entertainment market. So it's what you guys call, some of you guys call industrials. It's basically, awards nights, presentation nights, corporate events, charity nights, fundraisers, even wedding receptions. Events where people get together and have a 3-course meal, and there might be some speeches and awards and that kind of thing. And we put together this show specifically for that market, where we dressed up 3 opera singers as the waiters, and we would walk around hoaxing. One's pretending to be an Italian. How's everything tonight? My staff doing a good job for you? Bravo, please enjoy. And then a Frenchman would walk around. Bonsoir, madame, monsieur. I hope everyone is enjoying the meal tonight. I have selected the Chardonnay, which goes very well with the fish, and the Cabernet go very well with the beef. And I hope you enjoy. Merci. And he would walk away, and people thinking, oh, there's European waiters here. How fabulous, they're pretty cool. And then when the mains got, what you guys call the entrees go down, we call the main meals. They take over with a very funny, interactive 3 tenors style show. Now, a lot of your listeners, some of you will know who the 3 tenors were, and others now it's kind of a bygone era. The 3 tenors were the biggest thing in the 90s. They were selling more tickets than the Rolling Stones were. As the 3 of the greatest opera singers in the world: Luciano Pavarotti, Jose Carreras, and Placido Domingo. They came together in the 92 World Cup. The eve of it exploded, and everyone went, oh my God, this is going to be so big. And they ended up touring the world 2 or 3 times during the 90s. And that was the basis. That was our inspiration for the 3 waiters, the 3 tenors. If there was no 3 tenors, there wouldn't be any 3 waiters. And anyway, that idea back in the late 90s, it exploded for us in a way that we just simply weren't expecting. We thought 1 or 2 shows a month would be nice. Very soon, within months, we were doing 4 or 5 a week. And all of a sudden, the event planners all over Australia wanted us, and the phones were ringing, and this was going all mental. It was like, wow, and every show we'd get three out of it. And people going, oh my God, I saw you last night. Oh, we're doing an event in 3 months' time. Can you please do it? Oh, we'll just do exactly what you did last night. It just blew our minds and all that kind of stuff. And we had to get savvy and become businessmen, because Mark was a social photographer for one of the major newspapers here, and I was an actor. So this thing was becoming really big, really fast. And all of a sudden we had to become, rather than sort of artistic people, we had to become businessmen. We had to know, well, how do we deal with this demand for a product that we've put together as a bit of a joke? and the thing got so big so fast that we started to, we employed our first employee, and and we had to get another one, and we had to do all the we had to hire people, and we've never done anything like that before, sort of thing. And then we had to maintain. All of a sudden, you realize this thing's big. We need more than just 5 or 6 in the squad. We now need 12 in the squad, because we're doing 2 or 3 sometimes in one night. We can actually put 2 or 3 teams. We can scale this thing, And we've got two teams flying to Melbourne today, and one flying up to Singapore, and one flying to, God, we're going to do 5 teams. We better get some more. And so it got the 1998, 99, 2000 were just exponential years for us, and it exploded. And I realized 1999, 2000 that this was something that was a bit special. There's something about it. It's like wildfire. And everyone told us in the events industry, well, enjoy it while it lasts, because you become really big really fast, which means you're going to end really fast. You're going to be you're the flavor of the month by far, but flavor of the months usually mean by next month it's someone else. So enjoy it while it lasts. And we believed it. We said, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, it's a finite group of, a finite amount of events which are on, and we believed it, but it just kept going on and on and on. And 1999, we realized, hey, why don't we take this to the world? Because we catched up now, we've got some finance, we've got some capital. Surely this will work really well in the UK and in the United States. I mean, they know there's people there who know their stuff, and they'll appreciate the 3 tennis thing. So we took it to the UK in 2000, and we were very lucky. We got some really big events that we offered ourselves to, and which were very good at spreading the word very fast to the people who mattered, the decision makers of England. And I think we arrived there like August, October, and by Easter the following year, we were motoring. It was one of those incredible years where we realized this thing is a world beater. This is a world beater. It doesn't matter where you perform this. We performed in front of Asian audiences by then who just love it. And they get up in the chairs, and we'd have to tell them to sit down because it's ruining the whole kind of vibe. But they get the photos out of these 3 opera singers, this wild show, which is so funny. And they've all been fooled, and they've loved being fooled and hoaxed and the whole thing. And it was just a wild thing. And then we took it to the States in 2001. And the 2001 was a very kind of different story to Australia and the UK, because you guys in the United States, as opposed to England and Australia, in those days, we didn't really still have cable TV the way that you guys did. And so therefore, the 3 tennis was massive in Australia and massive in the UK, but not so massive in America. And I remember feeling a bit like, oh, bloody American, what's wrong with them? They don't kind of get the idea of the 3. And I realized, I was watching TV one night, and I just flicked channel. The reason is they've got so much choice. Even back in 1992, where they had cable, in the 90s, a few years ago, but no wonder they never saw the story of firstly, that soccer's not your major game. So the World Cup of 92 and subsequent things was not really a big deal. And secondly, you've got so much to choose from that to catch a news story which talked about that phenomenon would have been very unlikely for most people. And also, you're not really known as a country which really embraces opera. So
you
there's
throw
all
some shootouts in there, some gunfights.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, you guys, and thank God, are the instigators of rock and roll, and everything else in country and Western music, and you got some the pioneers in many assets, just not opera, and you're not massive fans of opera either. It's kind of something, that's a bit over there, weird kind of thing, a little bit like Australia, except we did know about the 3 tenors. And so it was a hard road, and America's so big. You've got 3 Sydneys and 5 Brisbanes and 10 Melbournes. And so it's hard to make an impact in America, which gets that ripple effect as you do in Australia and the UK. So that was our big challenge. But we opened in March of 2001, and we were starting to get some traction by August, September. But then, of course, 9/11 happened. We were 6 months into it, and we were just starting to get the train out of that station, and it happened. And of course, the next 2 or 3 months, the whole events industry just was in enormous trouble. And I talk about in my book. You mentioned my book before, Josh. That with the American experience, coping with something like that. I talk about it in my book. I remember being in Los Angeles and Santa Monica's restaurant there called Shutters on the Beach. And we were having our Christmas, Southern California chapter Christmas dinner. And the Southern California chapter of the International Special Events Society, was full of Hollywood event planners. So I'm in a room full of people who put on events for the big Hollywood parties and everything like that. And I was a member of that association. And there's our president going up in December, early December, only 2 months after that terrible day. And he's crying. He's trying to cheer us up. And we're all just sitting there going, what the hell are we going to do? The events industry's been shattered. Because no one wanted to fly. Remember those days? 2001, no one wanted to fly. No one wanted to be seen to be putting money into big events and enjoying themselves when the whole country is shattered by this experience. And he was weeping, literally. You could see the tears in his eyes. He said, the phones are not ringing, people. He was slapping his wrist down on the thing. And hell are we going to do? And that was our new challenge for me, especially, was what are we going to do? Now, Australia's going gangbusters, UK's going gangbusters. The United States, who I really wanted to work, wasn't. We'd hit a brick wall. And from then on, it was a story of just going back to the basics, phone calls every day, just trying to hang in there. All these slings and arrows are being given us. We can take it. It's going to be a long journey, not a short one, not even a medium one. It's going to be a long journey, but we'll get there. And I talk in my book how it was a tale of two cities, really. UK and the Australia just kept on going for, right up until the global financial crisis of 2009. But all the way from 2001 to 2009 was a story of not exponential growth in the United States, but gradual. And by the time we got to the global financial crisis, we were doing one a day in the United States, which was really exciting to me. So that was when I sold out in 2009. And I remember selling out thinking, I managed to get the United States to one a day, which is incredibly good in its right. I mean, one a week is a fantastic result. One a day is awesome for what we do, for the market we do. I mean, there's the three waiters, and then there's daylight, and then there's the next thing. The three waiters to date have done 14,000 shows. It's just a 23-minute show in an event, or sit-down dinner. 14,000 times it's been performed, and it's been seen in 90 countries. That's 90. Most of the world celebrities, presidents, prime ministers, they've all seen it at some kind of event. And royal families were done, every one of them, all that kind of thing. So it's a phenomenon. It's a true phenomenon. And I try to capture that, the story of it in my book, and all the lessons from that incredible 12 years I had with them. And since then, too, my story since then is developing my own entertainment company, Lovegrove Entertainment, here in Australia. And I've got about 9 or 10 acts, and they've got fantastic stories as well. So that's hopefully in a nutshell, kind of what I do. I'm an entertainment entrepreneur. I produce acts for the corporate events world, the events industry, and I have good fun doing it.
It sounds like it, and it's cool to hear. I think a lot of us have sort of found a passion, and we've eventually found ourselves helping others with that passion. So it sounds like for you, what started as a passion, an artistic way to express yourself, kind of turned into a point where you're like, oh, shoot, we have responsibility now because this is a business.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
that can be a challenging transition. So for me, and in my industry as a health and fitness coach, I think a lot of us, we go off and we start our coaching business and we say, this is it, I'm an entrepreneur. And I think eventually there's a point where we actually turn into more of a businessman, a business person, and we're actually running a business. And I remember thinking this, oh, I thought I was an entrepreneur. I wasn't an entrepreneur before. I don't even think I'm an entrepreneur yet now. There is a lot more levels to get to before I am truly an entrepreneur. So what was that like for you in turning your passion into now having to run it as a business? Did you lose passion for it at all? Did it help grow that passion? What struggles did you face along the way? Because I think that's what most people are going to run into when they do something like this.
It is massive. If you told me, no, I still would have done it. I was going to say, if you told me, the brick walls that we're going to hit, and the ball. What's that softball phrase? The hard balls which are going to hit you in the head. The curve balls.
Oh yeah,
and all that kind of. Oh my God. And look, it is a world of lost sleep and stress and tension and everything that goes with it, because you have to bring your people with you along the journey. And that's not always easy. Everyone's got their own lives, their own interests, their own wants and needs. And they might not always subscribe to your journey, your passion. But you want to bring them along because you want to bring the best people with you. So you've got to keep them incentivized. And you've got to keep them understanding where you're going with it. And, you have to be able to listen to them as well, because sometimes they've got really good advice along the way as well. So you've got to learn, which bits of advice do I take, and who do I kind of learn from to kind of go, maybe not so much that he's kind of, or she, it's not quite on my level, and therefore probably going to hold me back a bit. But this person's interesting. Yeah, what they've said about that, I should probably listen to more of that. There's all that going on. There's books to read. I realized by 2 or 3 years into it that I realized, God, I am a businessman. I'm not an actor anymore. I had to stop. I had to not have an agent anymore. I had to make a conscious decision. We were 2 years into it. I can't be an actor anymore. If the Three Buddies is going to go up, it needs my undivided attention. And same with Mark. Mark had to resign from the newspaper, and we threw ourselves into this, and this is all we did now. And that was a huge thing for us, because we're both alpha males, and Mark and I were very, very passionate individuals, but we also kind of, the longer it went, we wanted the same result, but we started to have, unfortunately, as anybody who's in any business partnership knows, it's a marriage. If you've got business partners, you're married to them. And sometimes you both want to go to the same place, but you want to go different ways. You want to go this way, go this way. And if you're both really strong and alpha about it, that's tremendously problematic. And Mark and I did have a lot of struggles. But ultimately, and it did kind of end up being something that I realized one of us probably needed to get out, and I was the one prepared to do that. But he's done a great job of carrying the Three Waiters on, and I don't begrudge him anything. I mean, absolutely not. It's just an unfortunate situation where we both had different ways of going to the same place. So there's all that. There's tension. You're putting capital into something that can end up going, bust up, and you're going to have nothing to show for it except lots of tears and frustration and anger, maybe, and anxiety. And but there's also the dream that this thing just might work. And when it does work, it gives you the freedom of choices. It gives you options of making choices and in a life that you hadn't maybe experienced before. So obviously the pluses are massive, but you've got to understand along the way, you're going to have different problems that you haven't experienced before. You are a leader of people, and they want you to lead, but they want to be led well. And they'll tell you if they're concerned about where you're leading them. This is where your employees, your people who you want to be on your side and follow you on this journey. Mm-hmm. So, and there's all that. There's the family. You've got to take care of your family, because, gosh, I was married in 2000 when the whole thing was starting to explode, and we were starting to have children. My oldest was born in late 2000, and the second one was 2004. So that was in the height of its international growth, global growth, and the global brand awareness. So I was often away, and that causes strain and stress with your partner. You're not at home anymore. You're not being a dad. It's one of the things you signed up for. You're not being a great husband, because there are other things that you really do have to pay attention to. You have to sit down and have an understanding with spouse and say, babe, I would love to spend more time with you, but if you believe what I'm doing, you can see that if you can just give me a bit more space and time to also devote myself, not just as a husband and a father, but also this business person who needs to be away from large periods sometimes. It's going to be good for our family in the long run. And that's invariably medium term did what happened. And so there's all that kind of stuff. That there's real problems come, but there's all that, the double side. Are you ready for the really good thing? Right. If you're ready for the good thing, you've got to be ready for a whole bunch of other stuff that you weren't quite probably thinking about. And as starting a fitness thing, oh my gosh, I know people who own gyms here in Australia, and that's a stressful job, that one. You've got to get the membership in, you've got to keep them there, you've got to retain them. I know that world, buddy. And I know it's a real tough one. So what were the other questions you were asking there?
I think actually Travis had something that he wanted to run by you. I do have a few that I'd like to get into, but Travis, go ahead.
I have a question. You touched on like so many different things that I think people are terrified of. But just one that stuck out to me, I was thinking about the other day. Do you think when you were going through it, were you more afraid of it failing or of it being super successful? Like what scared you more?
We didn't have time to think of it failing because it was just such a great story like that. I was scared of United States failing. There were three parts to our business in the end. It was Australia, UK, and the United States. Australia was going gangbusters, wouldn't stop. And it was just one of those things you just didn't think about it. Didn't want to think about it because it just was working. So therefore, don't interfere. Don't worry about it. Just let it enjoy the ride. Same with the UK. The United States was constantly on my mind. I don't want this to fail. This needs to work in the United States. Yes, I understand why it's so different to the UK and Australia, but I just wanted it to work because I love traveling around the States. I don't know, it was an ego thing. I wanted to be the biggest show in corporate show in the United States. That was a cool thing. I can tell people I've got the biggest show in the US, And so I was driven to a fear of failure in the US branch. Yes, I was. Was I scared about it becoming super successful? No, because we were having so much fun. I don't think you can get scared about having too much fun. Can you? Maybe you can.
I just mentioned it because I've never even thought of that being a fear, but I've actually talked to like a number of people starting out in their entrepreneurial journey who are afraid of the success. And I'd never even thought of that at all. It's just something that interests me, and I think that's maybe a sign that you're like not going to make it. If you're more afraid of being successful, I feel like you're probably not going to make it.
I'll be honest. I have a fear of failure at the moment right now with my own company, Lovegrove Entertainment here in Australia, because I sold out of the three waiters back in 2009. That's 12 years ago. And I sold out in the midst of the mayhem of the global financial crisis. Lehman Brothers collapsed when I was negotiating with the people who were going to buy me out. And everything, all those months that happened after Lehman Brothers, and we saw our global figures in three waiters just go really fast. It wasn't due to lack of popularity of the show. It was because people just weren't going to put events on in the following 12 months. Mm-hmm. And right. And here I am trying to say, here I'm trying to sell something which has value, and the value is clearly diminishing every day because of the forward 12 months are going to be drastically different to the 12 months previous. And so there's all that. But now with the global financial crisis, that massively changed the world's events industry all over the world. It's never recovered, I don't think, to half of what it was.
Wow.
And now we've had COVID, which has completely and utterly smashed the events industry in ways that, oh my God, it's so bad. And so therefore, what is the events industry anymore? It's not an industry you can make a lot of money in anymore. It's a cottage industry. It's something that you can make a living by, but no one's making any big money anymore. There's still the players there fighting like crazy for the scraps that are there. All the big all the big sound companies, they turn up and they've got all the gear and everything, but there's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 others in Sydney just as big, just as viable, and they're fighting, saying, no, pick me to do your event, no, pick me to do your event. And all the event planners have got all this richness of choices to choose from, and of course I supply entertainment acts. And I've got fabulous competition here, people who are starved and really want to get back on stage again. And so we're fighting it out like crazy. Social media advertising, emails, we're saying, hey, we're back, and we're better than ever, and la, la, la. And, I am scared that my industry, which has been so kind to me, especially in the days of the three waiters, it's just not even a fragment of really what it was. Well, it is. It's a fragment of what it was. And therefore, I already know, I've already come to accept that it's just simply not going to be ever like that again. Even if I was to create a show which is popular, which is as profound, it had as much as a value as the Three Waiters, it is funny and is exciting and is just transformational. This isn't, it really still wouldn't take off very much because the market isn't there for something to catch fire and spread like wildfire. It was in the late 90s. The Three Waiters was the perfect show, but at a perfect timing. So if the Three Waiters came along today, it would just be an ordinary act. It would still go to the top of a very small pile. It would just be, it would be very well received as always, but it wouldn't grow to scale. It wouldn't grow massively like wildfire, a huge ripple effect, because it's just not, the market's not there to support that, So that's my fear, is that, am I putting all this in twice as times of energy than I used to in the days of Three Waiters, and having a lot more product to sell, but in a market that is so diminished that do I even care about it that much anymore? So I do look at other things. I look, and of course now my life's very different. I speak at conferences now. I don't just put what things I speak at conferences. I tell the story. I MC a lot of shows. So I've had to pivot. I've had to reinvent very much. And reinvention is one of the major things in my book. So many people now realize, hey, it's different to 3 years ago. The market's changed. Expectations have changed. Needs and wants have changed. Demand for goods and services have changed. Maybe I need to reinvent myself. Is the goods and services that I provide still in demand? Is the way that they're received still the same? Am I going to get the same reception at the buyer's end? Or are they going to go, yeah, give me the product and everything, but I feel differently about it now. There's all of that. We've got to take into consideration. COVID's changed everything. And that's going to be our great challenge, is that maybe we actually need to go back and reinvent who we are. And I know I do. Ever since the GFC and I developed my new company, I realized I can't just be this person hidden behind this big brand. I've actually got to go out now and say, I'm Darryl Lovegrove. And that was a hard thing to do, because I'm fine putting my name up in lights in a show because I'm hiding behind a character. I'm Jesus or Marius, or I'm one of these big characters in a show starring Darryl Lovegrove. That's fine. But put me up on Darryl Lovegrove itself, and I'm like, whoa, hang on, I'm a bit nervous about that. What? I'm just called, and so I had to go and learn to go out and actually put my name up and say, think about Darryl Lovegrove as your next conference speaker. Think about Darryl Lovegrove as your next master of ceremonies. Hey, I wrote a book, he's an author kind of thing. So all of a sudden see my name everywhere. I was a bit reticent about that. It just I just didn't feel comfortable at the time doing it, but I knew I had to do it. And
I think a lot of people are afraid of like personal branding, it's kind of nerve-wracking.
It is nerve-wracking. And you feel so self-conscious about it, and you feel like, God, probably my best mate's probably going, you're full of yourself, putting your name everywhere. And one or two of them do feel like that. You find out one or two of them do actually feel like that. But then there's the ones who you learn after a while who go, hey, I like what you're doing. Good stuff. You should have done that. You're a great master of ceremonies.
Those are better friends.
And those are your real friends. And I just saw you. Just heard someone rave about you. They saw you at a conference the other day. You're fantastic, mate. We've got on you. How can I help? So there's that as well. And so that's what I guess makes you move on in that world of where you're thinking, oh, am I doing the right thing? You realize, I am doing the right thing. People have got more of a macro vision of the whole thing, can see what you're doing, and they kind of go, I think you're on the right track. That's a good thing you're doing. And that helps a lot.
I think what's been interesting is to hear your story, hear about how you've pivoted when you got into the US and you understood that the market was different. You had to pivot your approach. You had to change the way that you're actually approaching the growth of the business. Then obviously we had a financial crisis and you had to pivot yourself again. And now, of course, COVID, you had to pivot yourself again. It's almost as if being able to pivot effectively is an important skill to have as an entrepreneur. So you've been talking a little bit about how to see when you need to pivot. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes there's a financial crisis. Sometimes there's a pandemic. Sometimes it's not so obvious. And like you said here, maybe your marketing just isn't hitting. Maybe there's another opportunity that you would be more, that would suit you better in your personality and where you are in your life. So there's a lot of ways that we can see that we need to pivot. The next question is like, how do you stay ahead of that, identify it, think logically, not emotionally, and learn new skills while you're also trying to do what you're doing?
The answer to that is that you don't know that. You just have to have a go.
I love that.
I accidentally got into emceeing to Master of Ceremonies. I got a call one night from one of my clients, and they said, "Daz, mate, my Master of Ceremonies has just pulled out of an event next week, and it's going to be 500 people in a room. It's a big awards night, and they had to, it's a big night for them, but they pulled out. And I can't. And I'm thinking of you. I just saw you. I know you really well. You've got a big personality, and can you perform as well? Do it, and plus." Do 10, 15 minutes, the big opera, musical theatre numbers. And I sat there and I went, oh God, MCing, I've never done that before. Of course, I've stood at the back of the room and seen MCs do their thing. But I'm kind of thinking, I could probably do that, but I'm so tunnel visioned in running the three waiters or do what I do. I don't even think about maybe I could do that one day. Which I look back and now I go, how come I never thought about it? But anyway, so I said, yeah. And that's one thing, the great Richard Branson quote. What is it? You guys know. I'm not going to get this word for word, but the idea was that when someone offers you a job and you think you can't do it, just say yes and then learn to do it. Yeah. And that's the thing. So someone asked me to be an MC, and I'm thinking inside, but I'm thinking, I always go, my mind can't help it. Hell yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Kind of. It's going to be scary as hell, but that's what my life is. I go in front of crowds and I give it everything and hoping for love to come back because I'm an actor, and we need that. We're so insecure. We need that love and we need that response. And our ego demands it and we love the applause. I realize that I'm born to entertain. That's what my purpose in life is. My purpose in life is to entertain and educate. And I learned that a while ago. And so, I'm going to go out and entertain. And as an MC, why not? I haven't done that before. Tick, bucket list tick. And I went, and of course I put everything into it. And I was so prepared. I had my jokes, I had the opening monologue prepared and the whole thing. And it went off beautifully. And I realized, why hadn't I done this before? I gave everything I had, and I loved it so much doing it. It's just a form of brilliant entertainment being an MC. And I got in touch with all the stakeholders involved, and I really said, what do you want me to, what's the message you want me to get across? At the end of the night, how do you want people to feel? What do you want them to do? What are the actions you want them to take? All that kind of stuff. I wanted to be a provider of that. And so I spent all the time, getting a cracking opening monologue together. And I just said, just relax, be myself. And if it doesn't work, you'll get nasty letters or something. And, you might have to change and not do it again. But as a result, coming up to me going, wow, you're a very different MC. How entertaining. And then you did the, concert for us and everything. 100 special events later as an MC, it's a good thing that I said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pivot. You have to do that kind of stuff. What was the original question? I've got sidetracked.
No, that was exactly it. It was like how to stay ahead of it, how to learn new skills while still doing what you're doing. And
I've got a bit more to add to that then. When anything we do, that's the first thing is don't automatically go into a default mechanism of no, that's not what I do. So therefore, boom. There are times in life where you got to do that for sure, where you really realize there are limits to what you probably can do. And if you're being asked to go here, and going here means a very big change in areas of helping out in this area where you need it here. If you really need it here, then don't go here. Because if you go here, this year is going to suffer tremendously. Now, going to being an MC, nothing was going to suffer. It was an easy choice for me to make. Nothing here was going to be compromised by that. So that was easy to do. Being a conference speaker, not going to jeopardize anything to a certain extent. My business a little bit, there's less hours working on the business to develop a keynote and everything that goes with it. But then it'll all become part of it. That was adding to this. Eventually, it will be part of a product that I put out. So my first thing is just as long as you're absolutely sure that it's not going to have what's the word? There's that economic term they use.
Opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost. As long as there's no opportunity cost, that's not going to be detrimental to you or your staff. Then be open to it. Open yourself up to possibilities. And then when you're there, yes, skills. You mentioned skills. Start, sit down and take it seriously. Don't try to wing it. As we call it in Australia, we're going to work out what's the best way that you can do this new thing that you've bitten into, and ask questions. And sit down with people and say, listen, treat me as if I'm a 5-year-old child. This is what I'm going to do. You have the experience. That's why I've come to you for advice. Help me out here. I sit down with a lot of people. Can we have a beer? Can we have a coffee? Mate, I've got this problem here. I want to go here. You've got more experience. Help me out. I've had lots of conversations over the years with people. I'm not afraid to go out and ask. So there's skills to learn. There's all that kind of stuff. And there's a willingness to do it. And then do it. Do it and face the scariness of it. And the more you do that, and the times, look, you're going to fail. You just are. You're going to fail sometimes. You're going to really be disappointed by results. You're going to come away going, oh, stunning. I just did not expect that. And then there's other times you're going to come elated by it and realize that's why you do it. But that's life. You've got to take the bad with the good. And if you're really passionate about it, if you really believe that you're providing goods and good or service that really helps people, that really moves the whole thing forward, you're going to win more than you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm. I think that last note's the important part, especially when it comes to building a business. A little bit of imposter syndrome tends to kick in. And especially when we were talking about, having those friends that maybe think, oh, you're full of yourself. Maybe they're not the right friends for you. Maybe you're not in the right crowd. But you're trying to make it. You're trying to stand out. You're trying to produce something that's helpful to people. And I think that one of the things I was most interested in hearing from you is I liked the concept of your book, like, why haven't you heard of me? And the improving our ability to stand out. So when you're going into these different markets, especially when you came to the US, you said, okay, we got to stand out. We got to do something. So what's your perspective on this, on standing out, on making sure that you're known, that people are aware of you in a positive way?
Great question. And my first thing I think of is technology. The one constant is change. And it's just going a million miles an hour. Technology, the way we are marketing our goods and services today, can be quite different 2 to 3 years time. If the fad at the moment, the TikTok or whatever you're doing now, where are your clients' eyeballs? What are they looking at? When we started out, they were in magazines, they were in, basically industry magazines and email as well. So that's what we had to go for. Then things changed. Well, all of a sudden we had VHS cassette tapes in the late 90s that we were giving to people, promo videos. We had a great promo video and we were just getting to people to watch the video. Once they watched that, we got them. They loved it. They oh, this is great. I want it. And then went to DVDs, and now it's just, of course, people don't even want that. They just want your URL. So things are constantly changing. You've got to be there ready at whatever the new thing is. Check it out. It could be something you could use to market whatever you're doing. And also help your systems within your own organization. Technology with your CRM systems, the whole thing, SEO. You've got to be on top of that stuff. I hate technology. You're looking at someone who was so bored at games in the 80s and 90s, and my mates were playing games, and I'd sit there and I'd play it a little bit, and I go, I'm so bored. I don't want to play Space Invaders.
That's me.
The big whole game, it's whatever, and I get it. And there's probably a lot of people looking at me going, are you stupid? Why? It's so cool. No, I'm so bored of going. I'd rather listen to music. I'd rather go out and play sport. I'd rather, play guitar, piano, sing. I'd rather just do something where I'm actually with people and living life. Because I think that is a lock yourself away from life kind of activity, and your brain zones into something which. Whatever, I'd rather watch a movie and do something of artistic gratification or whatever you want to call it. Now, I know I've just lost half my audience, and I'm sorry about it. But stay with me.
I'm with you.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I get bored with that stuff so easily.
I don't like video games.
You look at someone who has technology, who has massively embraced it because I had to. I realized, gosh, in the mid 2000s, no matter how much I hate all this stuff, I realize if I'm ever going to be in a position where I can market to my ideal customers, then I better embrace this world of email marketing, of this digital world of digital marketing, of social media, and really get to know how can I do it, be one of the best at doing it. So that's why I joined business organizations and I joined people, business mentors and people who are totally into this stuff. And I've learned from it. And I've got virtual assistants who have helped me out, set the stuff up and do it all, so they're doing all the hard work. I just said, just do it. This is what I want. Yeah, don't ask me too many technical questions. I don't even know how to answer those technical questions. Just do it. I just want it to look like this and this. Can you do that? Come on, kind of thing. And by and large, it's worked out. I look at the end result and go, yeah, that'll do. Thank you. All right, now you put it up, kind of thing. So my life's all about promo videos and getting people excited about the visual aesthetic of the shows that I put out there and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I have to continually do. So my first thing is embrace technology, whether you like it or not, and keep up with all of the new products which are coming out, the shiny products. Work out, could this work with me? Could this help me in my systems? Could this help me in my marketing? Could this help me wherever? That's the first thing I'd say is embrace technology and go for it. Second one is an old-fashioned one, but it's still so prevalent. And I still find people in, their 40s, 50s, and 60s who still think that throwing themselves into the ocean of eating whatever the hell they want and drinking whatever the hell they want is fine, because it's not. It comes to the point you get to your 40s, or 50s, or 60s where you're going to throw away a lot of your life if you haven't looked after yourself. You've got to look after yourself. It's an easy thing in your 20s. I punished myself tremendously. And I looked and said, I'm fine, cool, and I played hard and I still kind of do, but with the great more thought going into it now. I did this Thailand bike ride a few years ago to raise money for this Thai charity. And we went to Thailand and we did 500 kilometers in 5 days. And I was fat and unfit at the time. And I joined this business association called Business Blueprint here in Australia. Fantastic organization. And if anyone's in Australia watching this, I thoroughly recommend it. I learned so much, still do. Surround myself with business mentors, people who are a lot smarter than I am, who have helped me tremendously in what I do. So I said, oh God, everyone's talking to me, hey, if you're a member of this association now, then you've got to do the bike ride. It's so cool. And I'm like, what do I have to do? And they talked me into it. And I thought, look at myself in the mirror, a big fat neck, and I was like, oh, so I suppose so. Because I was quite sporty when I was younger. And I thought, well, maybe I should, yeah, all right. So I got fit, hated every minute of it getting fit again, but I got fit again. And, started running bikes, started running again, lost weights, got really fit. And I've forgotten how good it feels to be fit, kind of like a drug. And I decided I want to keep it. And so for 5 years now, I run twice a week and really watch my intake of everything. And I still feel like I'm 24 years old. It's ridiculous. And those of you wondering my ages, I'm considerably older than 24. There's gray hairs there for a reason. And so that's one of the best things of doing is no matter what's going on, for goodness sake, treat your body like a temple. It's got to be looked after, because I still want to be running up the stairs rather than the escalator at 75 years of age if I can. That's because I want to enjoy it all. Whatever's going on, I still want to be around to enjoy it. There's so many people I see in business in the executive levels who would look dreadfully old, who look clearly, they look in their face, they just have far too much alcohol or that excessiveness in their lives. By the time they're retiring, they're just a walking bunch of misery. And you can't do that. Not if you're going to enjoy the last years of your life, but you've got to look after yourself, earlier on and keep looking after yourself. I hate exercising, but I do it because I know it. I just get this extra thing from it. So that's a technology, looking after yourself. And third one, education. There's about 5 ones I mentioned in the book, but these are my top 3. Education. You must never stop learning. And that's probably part of the education thing as well. not just in the technology side. Keep on learning about people skills. Keep on learning about how you take people with you on your journey, because that's not, they're your employees. They've got their own world, and some of them might want to go on their own journeys, entrepreneurial journeys, and you've got to let them go and wish them well. But if they're with you and they're employees of yours, you want them to turn up to work going, right, let's go. What have we got this week, Daz? What have we got? And you want them to be excited and incentivized, so you can go to sleep at night going, systems are all in place. People are doing the right thing. You're still going to have feebs of fires are going to come up out of nowhere that you're going to have to put out. But if you can work on the people skills and bring your staff through with you, and keep on learning about human nature, keep on learning about technology, keep on learning about your industry itself, and keep on talking to people. Hey, how are you doing this? I saw this you're doing the other day. How's it going? Don't be frightened to ask your competition questions. Ask people who your clients. Hey, what are you thinking about my product at the moment? Is this something we could do better there? What do you think? Keep on asking questions. This is my major one. It's my major one. Curiosity. Keep being curious. Oh my God, I'm finding with my own daughters and their generation, this whole new generation, a massive lack of curiosity in the world. It's all there if they want it. And a lot of them go, nah, I don't want it. I just want my own little life. Just this PC thing. I don't need this. I just need my micro world. Happy with that. I couldn't give a stuff about it. Don't watch the news. It's all depressing, all that kind of stuff. And so they actually know very little about what's going on in the world. The kids, I spend a lot of time with children, because I'm also, one thing I didn't mention is I became a school teacher when I first left school, before I got into the musicals. I did it because I was from an academic family, education family, and I thought I'll do it to keep them happy. And I loved it. I loved becoming a school teacher. I didn't teach in the classroom for 25 years up to the day I qualified. COVID, all of a sudden I'm sitting at home going, okay, the whole industry is completely stuffed. I could sit at home, do nothing, but I might check out going into school and teaching again. What the hell? And I've actually spent the last 2 years teaching up the road at a primary school and in another suburb. And I've loved every minute of it. The only thing I've been shocked by is the kids, because I teach sort of what you guys call K to 6, I think, sort of 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the school system in the States, but how incredibly uncurious they are about the world. I mean, I must admit, we're in a high socioeconomic region here, the suburbs I am. And so therefore they are, most of them, not all of them, a lot of them are kids of very successful families. And they've got everything they want, but the kids themselves are quite uncurious about life. They're happy with their own little thing, their own little back neighborhood, whatever, and the friends. And you ask them who the prime minister and the president of these other countries. I knew them at their age. I was fascinatingly interested in world politics and who were the leaders of countries and what kind of political organizations they were. I was a weird kid, I know. But I was curious, and I wanted to know who the next band was and who's the lead singer of the band. And I wanted to know or who was winning the awards around the world. And I would watch all the Grammys and the Oscars, and I was watching Entertainment Tonight, and all those sorts of programs, because I wanted to see what's going on around the rest of the world. And just a massive bit of curiosity. So please, curiosity, take an interest in what's going on out there, because the big trends and coming through in the world are things that you can embrace and bring to what you offer. And of course, I have to keep my mind very much on what is trending in pop culture. I have to know exactly what people are, where their eyeballs are, when my clients open, what do they open every morning? What are they looking at? Well, they're on their phone. This is what they're on all the time. So I have to go, well, then I need ads that are going to appear on the phones. I need to come up with a website that it works well on a mobile phone. Because my clients are 20, 30-year-old young women mostly who are event planners, event producers. And they're a hard nut to crack. They're of that generation, very different to my generation, where they couldn't give a stuff how successful you were 10, 20 years ago. They don't, and they've never been to the opera or the musical theatre. So why should they employ your act for their clients? And you have to sit down and tell them, well, hang on, your clients are 50, 60, 70-year-olds. This is exactly what they want to see. They don't want to hear the doof, 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 doof at their big awards night. You know, they're going to want something a bit, they maybe want that at the end of the night, but during the night, they're going to want something a bit more sophisticated, a little bit more, oh, do they? Oh, kind of thing, So I've got to deal with all that. So curiosity is so important for yourself to what is out there. How can I apply that to my own business, to making sure that the products and services that I'm supplying are being put across to the public in a way that relates to them. Is there something I can learn from the behavior that we're all showing as consumers? It's different now than it was 5 years ago, different from 5 years before that. So if you keep on doing the same thing all the time, you're going to be surprised by how it's not working. And it's because you haven't kept up with being curious to how people are viewing marketing, how they're viewing advertising, how they're taking it in, and what decisions they're making as a result of the images and the messages that they're getting from people like yourself. So curiosity, health, embracing technology.
I love that. Yeah, I love that, and I think it's important. It's those are three very crucial components of a successful human being. So I think we should all take that to heart. And to that point, I mean, I think we're coming up on about an hour, but we've learned a lot from you, from your story, from the success that you found, not only in Australia, but in the UK and the US, the battles that you faced, the challenges that you've overcome, using adversity as your advantage. And I think that out of every struggle, of course, there is strength. That's the name of the podcast. But the people who have been through it, and even more so, just not turn their back when they're faced with it, kind of like you have here, they turn out to be very successful, and we can learn a lot from them. So I appreciate you sharing this all with us.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. So thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Darryl for coming on and sharing your story. We will see you all next week.